Hey, Keepers of the Flame, happy March. Let us make it through this month, please and thank you, with peace and love and gratitude in our hearts, with a touch of grace, right? So, homework. Do some human homework this month. Get into your body, get into nature, get into your connection to yourself. How that works, how that operates, how you want it to function, how you want to show up in the world, how you want to feel. Do the things that make you feel safe and secure in your body and in yourself. So this comes with, now we're getting into the springtime feeling of things, where we're going to start focusing on the new, what seeds we want to plant. So I'm looking at this in a holistic way. So we've just cultivated our soil and just got the things out of it that we don't want there. We sorted them out. We did the shadow work. Now it's time to move forward in growing new things, beginning to grasp new ideas, making space for all that stuff that we now need to facilitate our growth. So when we're planting the seeds, whatever soil we're putting it in can facilitate that. That's the idea of cultivating your soul. Okay? So we just picked out a bunch of rocks, right, over the winter. And now we'll look into how we want to function in that, what it means moving forward. And we're still free to uncover new truths and new ways of doing things, and there will always be a room to clean. There will always be a shelf that needs clearing and dusting and wiping off. There will always be that. It doesn't ever go away. You don't just say, well, my shadow's integrated and now it's all good. I'm fine. I can move on. It's a continuum, okay, with the cycles of nature and the moon and the planetary movements. So this is just going to be about you realizing that you did the work over the winter, and then understanding that you have new soil for seeds to plant. So what do you want to put there? How do you want to grow into this new coming season? What is it that's going to fill your cup and bring you joy and shine your authenticity out into the world, so that others feel confident in standing in their own authenticity and truth? Okay. And this it comes with a loss of things. It comes with a loss of people. It comes with a loss of ideas. Old comfort systems that you might have had will just naturally fall away. But the brilliant news about that is you've already created something where you're safe and secure in that anyway. When you're safe and secure in yourself, it does not really pertain to your human being self when things fall away, because they're supposed to. You're not meant to do that one thing anymore, or you weren't meant to do it in the first place. So it might come in for a short time and then it'll leave. So these different modalities and perspectives are just gifts from the universe saying, hey, did you think about looking through this lens? Hey, did you want to see the world through this? Just for a second though, because it's leaving in a hot second. So it's not that you can't necessarily emotionally attach to things, but it's more of like the universe is now, especially now, going to be instructing you how to emotionally attach yourself, to yourself, which very few people can do. It's a task. It's a freaking task. Emotionally attach yourself to yourself. Emotionally pair bond with the self. So that way when you bond with others, animals, and humans alike, and even to the forces of nature, when you bond with those things, the feel of the breeze on your neck, or the smell after it rains, or the stars sparkling at night, whatever it is, right? Those things are meant to invoke certain feelings and emotions in you to create a connection and a bond. The trouble comes is that we're using it in a very abusive and incorrect manner. So when we encounter people who are purposefully invoking those things in us, not for the betterment and the unification of two people or whatever it is, but to simply come in and swoop in and take advantage, get the fix, and then leave. What is that? The Package, I think it is, by Perfect Circle. That's what comes to mind when I'm talking about this. So we now create a new space where we can stand solely in solidarity with ourselves, bonded, and saying, okay, I can feel those feelings, but I'm going to take my mind and my intuition with me so I can see through, because there's always tells. There's always tells in people. There's always there. The red flags will come. And you need to trust that process. You need to trust that, hey, something ain't right. And then you move on. But you ask yourself, what is it? What's not right here? Have I seen this before? Have I witnessed this before? Or is this new and it just is off? What is off? What is it? Mentally take note of what feels not okay, right? Because that thing is not meant for you. That's something a lot of people tend to have a little bit of a trouble with. It's just coming in to observe things and then going, yes, no, maybe, just needed to learn this. Why does this feel this way? This is triggering me right now. Why is this triggering me? Should I start going in? No. You need to deal with the trigger on an internal basis. So when you meet these different perspectives, new ways of looking at things through another person or another being, we're given the gift of perspective, period, the end, just by meeting people. Everybody you meet knows something you don't. That's the beauty of it. And we all get to interact with each other and understand that perspective, okay? Now, we're not meant to bond with everybody. So you come in, gain the perspective, and then you might need to leave. Or you might just say, okay, this isn't for me. This isn't where I'm headed on my path. I need to go somewhere else. Or you might say, okay, there's something here. I need to hang out for a second. So we're gaining this knowledge and this information via, well, for this example right here, we're on the web, right? So there's this construct that's happening within this vast array of web, right? Huge, vast array, like so expansive. And there's a lot of parts of it that we don't even see. Okay, most of us. So that becomes a way of functioning in the world that instead of being in a reactionary state, and again, this is for people who want to see, or are open to seeing, and those who do not see. So this is for the seers, okay? So those that see will come to gain understanding and knowledge and a larger perspective of the web. Those who do not see will not be able to see, and they can't hold space for that. And that's not their role, if you will. That's not their job. That's not their duty, whatever you want to call it. If you can't hold space, you can't hold space. That's not to say that there's something wrong with them. It's just not their path. It's not their goal. It's not their... So if you look at their... How do I put this in a... Like your Pluto placement will tell you where your soul's journey is. So I think this will knock the Narking McNarkerton field for a doozy. If your Pluto placement is in house 1 through 5, you're going to be more self-orientated. It's just, that's your soul's journey. You are going to be self-orientated. You are going to conduct your life in a very self-orientated, narcissistic pattern. Okay. Source material. Let's start stating sources. Jeffrey Wolf Green, Pluto, The Journey of the Soul. Boom, done. Okay. So when we're on this journey and we're observing and we're engaging ourselves, we take caution. Especially now, we're getting more and more separated. We're on our knees begging for separation basically right now on a collective level, because we all are struggling to find our own individuality because we've been deprived of it for so long. So this is just a like go to your room for a timeout type of thing. And again, that might be just based on where your planetary alignments are. If you're in your room or if you're in that's topic for a different. Why do I always get burpy when I'm doing a video? This is weird. Excuse me. Maybe it's because I just chugged a shake. But so when you have this gift of perspective, this gift of living in the material world, if you will, you're gonna take these different ideas, perspectives, sometimes solutions, sometimes problems, whatever else, and put them in where they need to go within you as a human being. And that's going to be different for everybody. So when you are going through the cultivation of your soil, some things are going to work for you and others won't. Whereas other people are like, I know what to do with that. I know how to break that idea, concept, whatever it is down. I'll take it. You don't need it, but I do. Does that make sense? So that has a lot to do with us picking what seeds we want to put in our garden and what we want to grow and flourish. So when it comes to the conditions of the soil, that is the environment which facilitates the growth of the seed, right? It's not the other way around. The seed is not going to grow in conditions it can't grow in. This goes back to what I was referring to earlier about the environment creating the cells and what grows there, not the other way around. Okay, so we need to remember that when we're coming into this new shift. The environment creates the growth, not the growth creates the environment. This is going to be huge when it comes to these planetary movements. This is going to be kind of the major premise, operational foundation for moving forward. So if we can create a nurturing and loving environment for the things that we want to produce, the things that we want to grow, the things that we now get a grasp of that will actually facilitate our evolutionary process, we can begin to know what kind of soil we want, what kind of soil we need to produce, what needs to be cultivated, what needs to be composted, the things we want to keep producing and the things we do not want to keep producing. No. So that's going to look really, and as far as manufacturing work goes, as far as where we get our energy, how we exchange resources, this is all going to be shifted in the next 20 years. And the next 2 years is you figuring out which grinding stone you would prefer to stick your nose to. Because if you're still in Narky McNarkertonville, that's not a good grinding stone to have your nose to, if you know what I mean. So you got about a 2-year window here to get yourself acclimated to a grinding stone that you trying to choose my words carefully so it's not going to sound so heavenly or wispy or weird or shit like that, but like something that facilitates your evolution, which in turn will facilitate the rest of ours by default. Because if we're putting out the evolutionary vibes, not the high vibes, do not cluster me in with those people. The evolutionary vibes, if we are in that modality of holistic thinking, we're whole people. We are all of it. We're not just one little fractal of light that gets a high vibe with nothing else at all. For the life of me, I will never understand how those people live. I've tried so many times. I've even tried actually going into it and being like, okay, only high vibes. Only high vibes. That lasted about 2 weeks before I was like, I might need one of those self-hug jackets. Those white things where you're like, maybe it's my need, my Scorpio stellium. If I'm not looking at like something true and honest and real, then Aquarius is my chart ruler. And I have an 11th house stellium as well. I can't even. I don't know what is going on with that. But anyway, yeah, just holistic, everything included. Reality is going to be a huge thing right now. Reality, your reality. Shift it, shape it, mold it into something that you love. Your reality, not this, not this, right? And not on a pewter screen somewhere. This right here, this environment, make it something you can function in. Redo your, you don't have to like break up all your walls in your kitchen, but set it up so like, okay, well, I'm standing by the stove, I need this, and this. I'm gonna have it right at my hands, ready to go, and I need this space so I can do this and blah 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 blah, blah. You know, be weird, get creative with how you function in your space and try to improve that. Like if you have a favorite color that livens you up, paint it on your wall. Get a picture of that color. I don't care. Wallpaper. Take what do you like call it? The crafty. Shh, I'm busy. What do they call that? The kids, it's not cray paper. Anyway, the colored paper, just put that over your walls with that blue tape on the back so you can just peel it right off, no harm done. And make a mural with it. Tear it into little shreds and make like a stained glass mural or something. I don't know. Get creative. Do something that facilitates your growth and gets you into a creative process where you can take your internal whatever it is. Even if it's the most painful thing you've ever done, alchemize that into something creative. Take that energy and be like, okay, we're going to make something beautiful with this because I'm sick and tired of leaving it on the inside. That's all you got to do. So focusing on that. So when the reality of things hit, you have that environment already set up for yourself for the facilitation of your growth and process. You're constantly looking at the ways in which you have already alchemized so much, right? This whole room that I have surrounding me, with the exception of the ceiling, was a part of my alchemy process. The walls out there were a part of my alchemy process. I have several different ways in which this works for me. Gardening, cooking. I love baking pies and making bread when I have a broken heart. That's one of my favorite things to do. And so And it also is a season thing in the fall. Huge apple pie and bread in the fall. Huge thing. First snow, I put on some red hot chili peppers and we bake whatever it is, whatever the kids pick. They get to vote whatever we bake the first snow of the season. That's just how we roll. So it's a transitional process that you cultivate within yourself on a repetitive basis, so that over time that alchemy gets easier and easier and easier and easier and easier, and you know how to do it, and you know instinctively what to go for. I paint a room today. I need to go bake today. I need to get in the garden today. I need to take everything off the shelves and wipe everything down today. I need to completely empty out my closet and from top to bottom, wipe it all down, vacuum it out, whatever it is. I need to paint it. Maybe I need to add more shelves. Maybe I need to take some shelving out. Whatever it is, you instinctively get into the process of following your intuition and knowing exactly what you need to do for your own alchemy. Start getting into that process in your reality. I don't care if you live in a little teeny tiny bedroom with like one dresser and a mirror. Take your sheets, go wash them. If you don't like the color of your sheets, but you can't afford new ones, you can go to Wally World and buy a packet of dye. Dye the sheets. Whatever color you want. There's actually, I think if you pay, I did this years ago, like, if you look at your numerology, which is like your name or something broken down, it'll tell you like what color of sheets. It's that much of a science. Numbers are the language of the universe. It'll break it down, and I think it's your birthday plus your name in numerology. Look it up on the internet. Oh God, I did this years ago. But like I'm supposed to sleep on teal. So even though I'm like, I'm getting sick of buying teal sheets, I just dye my hair teal. Deny, I always sleep on teal. Okay, so just my thought process. Innovate, people. Okay, this is not me advertising for you to go dye your hair. I don't want you, in case you like, because I talked to some people that like would lose their jobs if they dyed their hair the wrong color, an unnatural color. So proceed with caution, but make sure you make sure you wash it again after you've dyed it, because speaking from experience, you don't want to wake up with a funny color on the side of your face. Okay, so just an idea of how to function in the world, alchemize things the way you need to. And again, reaching into your intuition and instinctively knowing, yep, I can do this. I feel safe in that. I'm going to do that. And change your environment so it facilitates your evolution. That is the whole premise of life. An evolutionary process that you create in your environment that facilitates a continuum of an evolution of self. And therefore, when you go out into the world, that pattern is beaming the F off of you, and nobody will be able to deny that to you. Okay? An evolutionary process that keeps going and keeps going. And knowing that things are not always going to feel good, they're not always going to, line up with what you wanted and whatever else. This comes from a place of learning, a place of knowing that having lived life for a hot minute, that on the other side of those horrible contractional growth process evolutionary pains is just another rebirth. So getting to the nit and gritty of it, things aren't always going to be perfect. Things aren't always going to be ideal. You're going to have some serious heartbreaking moments. You're going to have some moments where you're like, what the hell is even? What the hell? And you don't need to give up in those moments. That's not what those moments are there for. It's not to beat you down and beat you out. It is so that you, in the darkness, again, if we can volunteer as tribute for the darkness moments, the universe doesn't have to give us the darkness moments so often and as brutally. This is why authenticity is so important. This is why going through those moments of transition and those moments of ultimate truth and hardcore, like looking at everything with a freaking soul of freaking steel and going, yep, I can do this. That's important, because that's how we get through life. That's how we alchemize things. That's how we develop into a species that can handle things that we're handling right now. Okay? An emotional gamut needs to be run, and that you either do on a voluntary basis, or the universe will tell you you're going to go through it because we need you to go through it. Okay? This is why shadow work it's not some bad thing. It's not a fun floral thing at every waking moment. It is a process that involves a whole person. A whole person. And that means looking at everything with truthful eyes and tracing all these weirdnesses that we're witnessing back to the root system. Where did this come from? Who planted that seed, and why is it growing over here? Then you trace it back. And the roots of it are not always pleasant. Especially if the outcome isn't pleasant. Find the root system and you'll discover new horrors. And that's just the way life goes. If there's an outcome you don't like, the roots of it are not going to be pretty and sunshine and rainbows and dandelions and all that other great crap. So when we're looking at ourselves in a way that we can be honest and hold space, the process of alchemy comes so much quicker. Because you're like, oop, I do not appreciate that about myself. How do I change that? You know what? This aspect does not have a very good outcome for me. So how can I transmute, transform, and transfer this aspect into something that does work for me? Because there are things at the root of yourself that society will expect you to change. And then when you sit down with yourself and go, I would prefer... Ooh, you don't want to read my notes. I would prefer that this be the color of my skin instead. Yeah, the universe isn't going to give you that. Especially if you live in a quality of planetary alignment that does not provide you sun 12 months out of the year. So we don't need to be shaming each other for the color of our skin. We don't. We don't need to live like that. So when we trace that back to the origins, it's just a toxicity from our childhood it's a wound, and it's seeping, and it needs to be healed. It needs to be looked at. It needs to be sat with. It needs to be honored. And we need to realize that it's just asking for healing. Anytime there's a trigger, it's just an opportunity for healing. That's it. That's all. No shots need to be fired. Sit down with your trigger and stop pulling the finger and sit down. Why does this hurt? Figure it out. Honor it and move on. Heal it. Okay? Go out into the world and say, I have my own best interest at heart. Therefore, everybody else is included in that because I am connected to everyone. Even though you might not feel that way, you're instinctively, you just are. I know, we want to get away from that. And we're being asked to. We're being asked to take time out and sit down with our triggers and be like, okay, if we can't handle the world the way it is right now, we obviously can't handle ourselves. So then we need to sit down and we need to be grown-ups and we just need to, okay, how do we heal this? Where do we go from here? What do I want to be? What do I want to do? How do I want to show up in the world? How am I going to best serve myself, my family, and my community? and then lead from that. Okay? So what does your garden need to look like for your happiness? For your happiness. Yeah, there's going to be haters, but that's just because they won't do the work to get where you are. It just happens. People get lazy. People get weird. They realize that, or they don't realize that all the time and energy and resources they waste on envy and jealousy, they could just be putting into cultivating who they need to be for themselves and being happy in their own skin, which is such a waste. Ooh. Okay, so being who you are no matter what. And if you're around people who are shaming you for being who you are no matter what, you might not need to be around those people. Just be like, okay, I'll go somewhere else. I can go somewhere else. Because I'm me, and I can't, maybe next shadow season I'll sit with this, but for right now I need to keep going for me. And which means I need to navigate away from these toxic waters and into something that facilitates my growth and my evolution, rather than tries to hammer me into something I was never meant to be in the first place. Okay? Okay. Until next time, I love you and keep your flame.